The information in this program is based on the U.S. Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Markings and islands have separate purposes. Markings convey certain regulations, warnings, and other information without diverting a driver's attention from the roadway. Islands are areas between traffic lanes that control vehicle movement or provide pedestrian refuge. In this program, we will cover the design and application of both devices. Markings include pavement markings, delineators, object markings, and colored pavements. Pavement markings are painted or thermoplastic lines and areas on the roadway. There are two types of pavement markings: longitudinal lines and transverse markings. Curb markings are painted on the curb. Delineators are retroreflective devices designed to indicate roadway alignment. Object markers mark obstructions within or adjacent to the roadway. Colored pavements are used for guidance and regulation of traffic. An island is a defined area between traffic lanes for control of vehicle movements or pedestrian refuge. There are paved and non-paved islands. They serve three functions: pedestrian refuge, traffic division, and traffic channeling. Before going into detail on these devices, there is some basic information to consider. The best markings are those that provide warnings and information, but do not distract the driver. Devices can be permissive, indicating where a driver may drive, or prohibitive, telling where not to drive. Visibility at night can be a problem. This problem is addressed in several ways. First, by making devices retroreflective. Pavement markings are retroreflectorized by glass beads. Delineators use small pieces of retroreflective sheeting. There must be an adequate number of markings and/or delineators to define roadway or lane alignment. Retroreflection means that light is reflected back to its source. A driver must be able to recognize a device at a 300-meter advance distance. These requirements are based on a standardized level of nighttime headlight return. Retroreflectivity should provide separation between opposing traffic flows and define separation between pedestrians and traffic. There are also a number of general design requirements to consider. Markings and islands must contrast with the pavement and background, and a driver must be able to see them in time to react safely. Let's look at markings in more detail. The first step in marking is to choose the type of material or device to use. Engineers must consider climate, pavement type and condition, traffic characteristics, roadway geometry, and service life of the material. All pavement marking must follow several general principles. The color yellow is used to separate traffic flowing in opposite directions. Yellow lines also mark the left edge of divided highways. White lines separate traffic going in the same direction. White lines also mark the right edge of the pavement. Broken lines are permissive in character, meaning vehicles may cross the line. Solid lines are restrictive, meaning vehicles are discouraged from crossing the line. The width of a line indicates the degree of emphasis. Double lines indicate maximum restrictions. They should break at intersections. Markings which must be visible at night must be retroreflectorized unless there is enough ambient illumination. And raised pavement markers may serve as a vehicle positioning guide. They may also supplement, or in some cases, be substituted for other longitudinal markings. Curb markings have their set of rules also. If a curb on an island serves to channel traffic to the right of the obstruction, it should be marked with retroreflectorized yellow. When traffic may pass on either side of the island, the curb should be retroreflectorized white. Once a section of curb becomes parallel to the direction of traffic, it does not have to be marked. There are many marking applications. Center lines separate traffic going in opposite directions. Center lines are not necessarily at the geometrical center of the pavement. Lane lines on multi-lane roadways separate traffic going in the same direction. Edge lines act as a guide or to keep drivers from driving on shoulders and refuge areas. No passing zones on 2- or 3-lane highways provide additional safety where there is not enough sight distance. Interchange ramps have channelizing lines and lane drop markings. These markings provide neutral or gore areas which reduce the chance of collisions with roadside features. They also channelize traffic smoothly. There are many types of urban intersection markings. They include stop lines that indicate where a vehicle should stop at an intersection, and crosswalk lines that guide pedestrians safely. Special markings in advance of a railroad crossing include an advance warning marker, a stop bar, and on 2-lane roads, a no passing zone. Lane use pavement markings are arrows, words, or both. They provide guidance or mandatory messages. There are also special or unique applications like reversible lane markings that help increase traffic capacity by adding extra lanes when they are needed. And there are left turn only markings. Finally, curb markings aid visibility, and they help establish parking regulations. In addition to these basic uses of markings, there are many special situations requiring special attention. For instance, marking no passing zones prohibits passing in areas where sight distances are inadequate, such as curves and hills. There are many types of channelizing lines. Wet pavement can make it hard to see markings, so climate must be considered when selecting materials and devices. Concrete and asphalt surfaces have differing contrast requirements. A line clearly visible on asphalt may be hard to see on concrete. In high volume areas, markings will wear quickly. They should be repainted or replaced. Recessed pavement markers embedded in the pavement provide better delineation during rain and at night. They supplement pavement markings. And thermoplastic markings are longer wearing. Markings also include delineators and object markers. Roadway delineators are light retroreflecting devices mounted at the side of the roadway to warn of obstructions and to provide the driver with proper highway alignment. They are designed to reflect standard automobile upper beam headlights from a distance of 300 meters. They should be mounted about 1.2 meters above the near roadway edge and 60 to 160 meters apart. Object markers point out obstructions within or adjacent to the roadway. They vary in pattern and height. Raised pavement markers are used as positioning guides or to supplement or substitute for pavement markings. They are used to supplement longitudinal markings and to channelize islands. They also improve night visibility in wet weather. Curb markings help channel traffic around an island. Retroreflectorized solid yellow markers guide traffic to the right of the island. Retroreflectorized solid white markers allow traffic on either side of the island. In general, curb markings conform to the basic pavement marking scheme: yellow on the driver's left and white on the right. Delineators guide drivers by indicating the alignment of the highway. To do this, they must conform to the color edge lines. Single delineators are placed on the right side of freeways. They are also on at least one side of an interchange ramp. There are also devices marking obstructions or objects adjacent to the roadway. Object markers may be Type 1, Type 2, or Type 3. Some obstructions may require additional emphasis. Objects close to the roadway require marking also. They may be a bridge abutment, handrail, or underpass pier. And some conditions requiring marking may not involve an object at all. For example, narrow shoulder drop-offs and small islands. Large surfaces, such as a bridge pier, may require diagonal stripes, much like the Type 3 marker. Object markers indicate the end of the roadway. These devices have red reflectors on either a red or black background. An alternative is to use a retroreflectorized barricade. High volume of traffic can make it difficult to see smaller delineators. This should be given special thought in the design phase. Consider weather. Some delineators are more difficult to see in the rain. With others, retroreflectivity may be reduced. Colored pavement occasionally supplements other traffic control devices. The color should contrast with adjoining paved areas. Common colors are red, yellow, and white. Now, here's a closer look at islands. Islands have three main functions. They divide a roadway, they can be a pedestrian refuge, and they channel traffic. Islands require careful design. They should be easy for drivers to see and provide a travel path that is obvious. This must be true both day and night, in good weather and bad. It may be advisable to test an island plan by installing temporary delineators first. Islands are usually either long and narrow or triangular to control turning movements. Their size varies. They should be large enough to command attention and no larger. Pedestrian refuges must be free of signs, poles, raised markers, or post-mounted delineators. There are three types of islands: those using curbs or asphalt berms, those formed by pavement markings and often supplemented by bars or posts, and those using non-paved areas surrounded by pavement edges. This type often has post-mounted delineators, posts, or pavement markings. The design of the approach end of an island must provide the maximum warning. Just before the end of the island, there should be gradually diverging markings on the roadway. The markings may contain slightly raised sections of coarse aggregate. This area is a rumble section that will alert a driver who inadvertently drives across it. An island approach nose should have a sign or delineation. If traffic is required to pass to the right, the sign should make that clear. If traffic may pass to the left and right, it should indicate that. Large intersection channeling islands could have guide signs. One final important point. All islands and the proper channels of travel through them must be clearly visible at night. This is accomplished through retroreflectorization or illumination. Drivers should be able to see the approach end treatment, the general layout of the island, and especially areas where there is possible danger to pedestrians. In this presentation, we have covered markings and islands. Remember, the main purpose of these devices is to provide guidance for the driver. To do this, there are a series of permissive devices that indicate where a driver may drive, and a series of prohibitive devices that tell where not to drive. These devices must work equally well day and night. To help with this problem, many are retroreflectorized. They have glass beads built into the paint or sheeting. Markings include pavement markings, which are painted or thermoplastic lines or areas on the roadway or curb. They may be longitudinal or transverse. Markings also include delineators, light retroreflecting devices indicating roadway alignment, object markers, colored pavements, raised pavement markers, and curb markings. Islands are areas between traffic lanes. They provide separation of lanes, channelizing and turning control, or pedestrian refuge. For more information on these devices, check the manual on uniform traffic control devices or other similar documents. For more information on other IRF videotapes, call the International Road Federation at the numbers on your screen.